this guy works his ass off.
Yep.
So when an opportunity comes, they'll be like, hey, James, you've always been there. You've always showed up. You had a good attitude. We got this new project we're working on, and we need you to be a part of it. And
yep.
I think a lot of kids nowadays, they say, I want to be an actor. So, but there's one thing missing: going to acting school and starting at the bottom and working their way up.
Yep.
And they just want that part. And it's like, I don't know too many people that are going to throw $1 million at and take the chance of a big production on somebody that's unproven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's testing. You've been tested, so somebody can have more. They'll feel comfortable giving you more responsibility and more. Basically put you in charge of things that could be really expensive. Especially at a company.
Oh yeah.
So so like what we're doing is we're chipping away at trying to launch this sugar. It's, you've heard me advertise it. It's Next Sugar, but the thing of it is this is no exception either. I'm sure there's plenty of companies where the board sits around and says, all right, how are we going to make a lot of money fast? Well, it's the same thing with this. Is we got to not just be out there, but kind of go through the growing pains and do all the hard work. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. And the fact that it is hard, you can take a little solace is at least the competitors aren't going to be creeping up on us.
Yep.
Because even getting on Amazon, how long did that take?
Yeah, that was in motion for I want to say half a year at least.
Wow.
Trying to just going back and forth with emails and whatnot. But yeah, it took a while.
It sounds like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I think this, like anything else, is you still have to take a step back and motivate yourself, because you think is the first thing you think of is, oh, to hell with it, we'll start somewhere else or go somewhere else. But
right.
Whatever you do, you're still going to have to put that energy in. And, the fact that we're this far along, as soon as we get a little bit of a payday, it'll be all the motivation we need to go to the next level.
Right.
But I think it's being smart. Of course, being smart enough to know when, okay, we got to cut our losses, if we're just getting no traction at all. But, it's just, we got to keep on keeping on. And you think about anybody that's successful, whatever it is, it's just I always talk about the guy I know that he pretty much owned Stater Brothers, had a majority shareholder, and he sold all his shares to when he retired. But he started boxing groceries. Why do they call it boxing anyway when they're putting it in bags?
Yeah, I know. I don't know boxing groceries, but yeah.
Yeah, I think of boxer. I think of a dog and somebody that gets punched for a living. Or a Porsche. The Porsche, and with the Porsche, it's funny because the Porsche Boxster. I would never own one because to me you're trying to tell everybody, yeah, look at me, I have a Porsche, but everybody's like, yeah, you got the cheapest Porsche.
Yeah.
So if you're rich,
yeah, I know, right? If you're rich, you know that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So he started out as a boxer and worked his way up, and I'm sure so many times he probably just want to say, oh, to hell with this, but he stuck with it. They kept on giving him raises. And he probably had to put up with a lot of shit too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, that's just anytime you're in business, it's just you can't do what you want, say what you want, be with the people you want until you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
That's what Warren Buffett always said. He's all the nicest thing about being rich is you could choose who you want to be around. But I think a lot of us are doing it at a young age or at the bottom of the ladder, the corporate ladder. Well, you can't do that yet. Hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah, before you throw the hipster attitude at everybody, you do need to work your way up. And then I think the other thing too is, if once you have that thing where like you're cool to everybody and you're nice to everybody, you're like, wait a minute, this is working for me. I don't want to flip the switch and just be a jerk all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah.
For me, I'd worry about karma too.
Yeah.
What do they say? You see the same people on the way down as you do on the way up.
Oh yeah, so true. Yeah.
So just be careful. But and I hear that a lot. Like corporations move, so they say, okay, for you to stay in this corporation, we have to demote you. I just talking to a lady yesterday that worked for Toyota, and they're moving from LA, way to go to California, raising taxes. So Toyota's leaving, going to Texas.
Oh geez.
And her husband had to basically be demoted. So now, thank God he was good to everybody, because can you imagine going back to that group after you were jerked to everybody, saying, hey, I'm going to going up a floor, so to speak.
yeah, exactly.
So I think a lot of people, like, if you could just stay where you're at, work hard, and you will move up eventually instead of starting over. And because how many people do you know have moved because or changed their job because they didn't like this person, or they didn't like this manager? This is too hard, and you probably. And if we did it ourselves sometime, I mean, sure, sometimes if there's no promise, it's just a lateral move. But if you have a company that you can move up through, or if it's your own company that you're doing, you just got to stick with it.
Yeah.
And then eventually you can start shedding those customers off that make your job miserable. But, it's just that part never gets brought up. I mean, when's the last time you heard somebody say, hey, this person's successful because he got up early, worked his ass off all day, took risks, put up with a lot of junk,
Oh yeah.
That's not a sexy story, so you don't hear that.
Yeah, you don't hear that middle part. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's face it, we all hear about, I think it was FedEx. He couldn't make payroll, so he went to Vegas and pretty much put all his money on one hand of blackjack. And was able to make payroll and kept on going. And
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you hear that and that sticks. But that's not the norm. Or at least the norm in my case would be you bust.
Yeah, bust.
And then you got to figure out how to get lunch that day because you spent all your money.
Right.
So that's my typical story. But that's the thing, is like when you're doing a job every day too. Like, say you work for the city or the government, it's just like, oh man, you hear this exciting job down the street that your friend has, and you're thinking about doing it. It's something new and it's exciting. And he's like, oh yeah, and you make $1 more. But like the company where you're at now, let's say you just put a few more years in, and then you could compete or your what is it? Your
seniority.
Yeah, seniority for your freedom, but then also for your pension.
Oh, okay.
You're eligible for it.
Right.
And that eventually too is a big part of success. If you got a little bit coming from here and a little bit coming from there. Because let's face it, I don't care how much you make, you're going to spend the money.
Right.
And if you're really good at saving, you're like, no, I'm going to put my money away. And okay, well, you'd be doing that with a little bit of money. So like if you're not doing it now with a little bit, you're not going to be doing it with a lot.
Right. Yeah.
The same thing with people that don't give any money they don't help the poor. They don't do any. They're not a philanthropist by any stretch of the imagination, but they just don't do anything. And they say, oh, well, if I had more money. No. From my experience, when those people get money, those are the tightest SOBs in the world, because they finally got money. Nobody's going to do it. So like I try to give as much as I can. I mean, it's not a lot, but because I know that, like the old thing is, you practice like you play. And the same thing with saving. If you can't put anything away right now, you're not going to be able to do it when you make more money. And then it's hard to be great too, because you have a money problem. Yeah. And how are you going to grow your company or grow within your company if you have to kind of tighten your belt a little bit? Like even right now with us, the food company. It's hard because there's not a lot of money coming in because we're kind of at our genesis of everything. but it's just even the little bit of money for advertising here or there. It's nice to have it, But if we didn't have that,
man,
it would have zero success.
Yes, and ducks for sure.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's a hard thing to talk about, success in business and success within a business if you're a manager or supervisor or just want to work up to that, because it is not a cool looking video. If it was a video, it's just sticking to and working hard and learning, kind of taking a back seat sometime, and then I think being a leader sometime too. That's not the easiest thing to do.
No, definitely.
So in any event, I think if you were to give one piece of advice for the younger generation of here's what you guys should be doing that you're not doing, what would you say it is?
That you should be doing, but you're not doing.
Yeah, that the typical guy.
Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of people, a lot of young people, I mean to say, these days they tend to start very late, just like with their life in general, like career wise. I feel like they're so stuck on partying and I'm talking about from experience. I have a lot of friends that do this. I see it all the time on Facebook, and I'm over here working 2 different jobs. Well, actually 1 job, and doing our food manufacturing company on the side. But I think a lot of what a lot of people is not doing is definitely putting in the work on gaining positive experiences, not gaining experiences from partying and doing drugs and whatnot. I think that's what they need to be doing more often is experiencing the world, the real life, which is experiencing it through work, experiencing it through making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, or like what you mentioned before, learning from other people's mistakes if you work with a group of people. But
so do you think it's because they do have it easy at home, and a lot of times they don't have to grow up, essentially?
I think it's half and half. I do have friends that definitely do have a great life. I know that, and they're pampered and whatnot at home. But I do also have friends that don't exactly have it great. And this is where I come from, and it's still not an excuse. Even those friends, the ones that don't have it great, they're still kind of making their lives. They're not following what they should be following, even though they come from a life that's not so pampered, it's still, like I said, it's not an excuse to let yourself go down. But
and that being pampered, that's a you talk about being rich. I would love to be so rich where I could be pampered.
Yeah, I know, right? Just having it so cushioned.
I mean, literally put Pampers on you.
Oh, like literally.
Like a 1-year-old. Put a little powder on there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of young people they're just stuck in that that young mindset of they just want to have fun. They don't want to do work. They just want to have fun and nowadays there's so many distractions. There's PS4, there's games, there's social media, there's all kinds of stuff to do nowadays. But back in the day, what did you do? Like kick a can around?
Literally.
Yeah, literally. So that's another problem too, is distractions. So
we used to spin the propeller on top of our hats.
yeah, exactly.
The friends would come over and watch me do it. A lot of it was I was there at kind of the beginning of the video games, and it was addicting, even though the graphics weren't as good and everything. But when you're like playing a sports game with the guy next to you, it's just you're firing on all cylinders because it's competitive. You can talk trash, and it's still it's if there was like an indicator of fun and joy and interest, it would be the same as the best game now, just because it's just competition, but what the difference is, and when we would work, we would even like stop at the house or whatever and take a break, and we'd play video games for a little bit, but we would cap it. It'd be like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes or whatever, but then you're done. Then you go back to work, and what it was is you start feeling guilty. Like, okay, I've taken long enough. I got to go back to work. And I could have stayed there all day. You know, it was our company. And at the very beginning, a family